The father sat at the kitchen table, a cup of coffee warming his hands, while his little daughter played nearby with a set of colorful blocks. He watched her carefully, noticing the way she stacked the blocks, sometimes carefully balancing them, sometimes knocking them down with a giggle. He couldn't help but smile, feeling a rush of love mixed with a tinge of worry. Being a single parent was not easy. He had responsibilities at work, meetings to attend, decisions to make that could affect thousands of people. Yet here was this tiny human, depending on him completely, trusting him with every moment of her life. From the day she was born, he had thrown himself into raising her. Sleepless nights, endless diaper changes, trying to figure out how to make her laugh when she was upset, and how to calm her when she cried. He remembered the first time he held her in his arms, feeling her soft little hands gripping his finger, her tiny breath against his chest. He had promised himself then that he would do everything he could to give her a happy life, to be both father and mother in one. Some days were harder than others. Balancing work and being present for her felt impossible. But he had never given up. She had grown so fast. Every day brought something new. A new word, a new gesture, a new look that made his heart swell. Sometimes he marveled at how intelligent she was, how curious she could be, always observing everything, soaking it in like a tiny sponge. He wanted to nurture her curiosity, to encourage her to explore the world, but he also wanted to protect her from all the things that could hurt her. It was a constant struggle between giving her freedom and keeping her safe. He remembered a morning not long ago when she had wobbled on her tiny legs, trying to walk across the living room for the first time. She had fallen a few times, but each time she got up with a determined look, as if to say she would not give up. That determination amazed him. It was in moments like that he realized how much of his own courage she was absorbing from him, how much his love and care were shaping her little world. Breakfast was a simple affair. Toast, fruit, and a little bit of cereal. She sat in her high chair, reaching for the pieces of fruit with excitement, her eyes sparkling with joy. He found himself talking to her constantly, even if she didn't understand every word. He described what he was doing, what the weather was like, what he hoped their day would be like. He wanted her to learn not just words, but the way the world worked, the rhythm of life, the feeling of being noticed and loved. His voice was soft but filled with warmth, a tone that he hoped she would always remember as comforting. After breakfast, they had a small routine. She loved story time. He would sit on the floor with her, books spread out around them, reading in a voice that changed with each character, making her laugh and sometimes gasp in surprise. Today, she chose a book about animals, pointing at the pictures and making little noises to mimic them. He smiled as she tried to copy the sounds, knowing that one day she would speak clearly, forming words that would amaze him. These little moments, though ordinary to the outside world, felt extraordinary to him. Each laugh, each sound, each little gesture was a treasure. By mid-morning, he decided it was time to take her out for a little adventure. The sun was shining, the air fresh with the promise of a beautiful day. He bundled her up, making sure she was warm and comfortable, checking twice that he had everything she might need. Diapers, wipes, a small snack, a bottle of water, her favorite little blanket. He carried her to the car, her tiny arms wrapping around his neck, her head resting against his shoulder. He felt the weight of responsibility, yes, but also the warmth of her trust. The car ride was filled with her chatter and babbling. She was starting to make sounds that almost resembled words. Sometimes he thought he heard her saying something meaningful, though it was hard to tell. Each sound made him pay attention, listen closely, as if trying to catch the very first word she would speak. He felt excitement building in his chest, imagining the moment when she would finally say a word that he could understand. A word that would be hers, a word that would mark a milestone in their lives. They arrived at a small cafe, a place he had discovered a few months ago. It was cozy, with soft lighting and a warm, inviting atmosphere. The smell of fresh bread and brewed coffee filled the air. He found a table near the window, letting in the morning sunlight. She sat in her little chair, looking around with wide eyes, fascinated by the new sights. He ordered a simple breakfast for both of them, keeping it light so she could enjoy the experience without getting overwhelmed. As they waited for their food, a waitress approached with a friendly smile. She knelt slightly to be at the girl's level, talking softly to her, asking if she wanted some water or juice. The little girl's eyes lit up, and she reached out her tiny hand, intrigued by the warmth and kindness she felt from this stranger. He watched the interaction, his heart swelling. It was moments like these that reminded him how important it was for her to meet kind people, to see generosity and friendliness, to learn that the world was not always harsh and busy. He chatted politely with the waitress, grateful for her patience and warmth. His daughter, meanwhile, was completely absorbed, her attention fixed on the woman who had so gently engaged her. She mimicked the waitress's gestures, trying to pour the imaginary water from a tiny cup, giggling at the sounds it made. He chuckled quietly, feeling a mixture of amusement and pride. These small, innocent interactions were shaping her understanding of human kindness and connection. While they waited for their food, he found himself reflecting on how fast time was passing. It seemed like just yesterday he was holding her for the first time, and now here she was, exploring the world with curiosity and delight. He thought about the future, about the words she would speak, the sentences she would form, the stories she would tell. He felt a deep desire to be there for every step, to guide her gently but not control her, to be the steady presence in her life no matter how complicated the world became. The cafe filled slowly with other customers, each absorbed in their own lives. Yet for him, the world had narrowed to this little girl and the kind waitress who had captured her attention. He noticed the sparkle in her eyes, the way her little fingers twitched with excitement. Something inside him stirred, a feeling of anticipation, a sense that today might be special, that something significant might happen that would become a memory they would cherish forever. He leaned back slightly, taking a sip of his coffee, watching his daughter's every movement. She reached for a napkin, waved it playfully, and laughed, a sound that warmed his heart. He felt a mix of relief and joy. Raising a child alone was challenging, but moments like this made everything worth it. He wanted to remember every detail, the sunlight on her hair, the sound of her laughter, the tiny movements of her hands, the way her eyes followed the waitress so intently. As they waited, he began to imagine the first word she would say, picturing it in his mind. He imagined her pointing at something and forming a word that would surprise him, a word that would be filled with innocence and wonder. He felt a flutter of excitement, a hope that today might hold that precious moment. His heart beat a little faster, a mixture of anticipation and love. He knew that being present for these moments was more important than anything else he could do that day. Work deadlines, phone calls, emails. None of it mattered in comparison to the tiny hand resting on his, the sound of a baby's laughter, the look of curiosity and trust in her eyes. He silently promised himself that no matter how busy life became, he would never miss these small miracles, these moments that would shape her and leave an imprint on his heart forever. Time passed slowly, almost in a dreamlike way, as he and his daughter sat there together. The warmth of the cafe, the sunlight streaming in, the friendly presence of the waitress, and the soft sounds of morning chatter created a bubble of calm and happiness. He felt gratitude not just for this moment, but for the chance to be her father, for the privilege of witnessing her first discoveries, for the simple joy of holding her hand and watching her grow. Little did he know, today would hold a moment that would be remembered for the rest of their lives, a moment that would make his heart swell with pride and wonder. But for now, he focused on the small details, the curve of her smile, the sound of her tiny giggles, the way she leaned forward with curiosity, the sparkle in her eyes. Every gesture, every sound, every movement mattered, and he soaked it all in, knowing that these ordinary moments were truly extraordinary when shared with someone you love. The little girl sat in her chair, her eyes wide with curiosity, taking in every detail of the cafe. She reached out to touch the edge of the table, her tiny fingers brushing the smooth surface, then looked up at the waitress with a mixture of wonder and excitement. The waitress smiled warmly, bending slightly to greet her. She offered a small toy from her pocket, a colorful ring that jingled softly when shaken. The little girl's face lit up, and she grasped it immediately, shaking it with delight. The sound seemed to make her laugh even more, a soft and sweet laugh that filled the space between them with joy. Her father watched quietly, his heart swelling with a mix of pride and affection. He loved seeing her discover new things, loved seeing the world through her eyes. Every little experience mattered to him. He wanted to make sure she always felt safe to explore, always felt free to be herself. The cafe was a small, simple place, but at that moment, it felt like a magical world full of possibilities. The waitress continued to engage with the little girl, talking in a soft, gentle voice. She pointed to the cups, the plates, and the bread on the counter, asking questions in a playful tone. The little girl mimicked the gestures, reaching out for the imaginary items, making noises that almost sounded like words. She was learning so quickly, absorbing everything around her. Her father could see the spark of intelligence in her eyes, the way her mind worked, the way she processed every new detail with curiosity and focus. As the breakfast arrived, the little girl reached for the food, her tiny hands grabbing a piece of toast. She giggled when a crumb fell onto the table, watching it closely before brushing it away with a small, determined movement. Her father helped her with the juice, pouring it slowly into her cup. She watched the liquid rise, fascinated by the colors and the way it moved. She took a sip and smiled, the taste making her giggle again. He chuckled, feeling a warm satisfaction at seeing her enjoy something so simple. Around them, the cafe was starting to fill. Other customers were talking softly, enjoying their own breakfasts, but he hardly noticed them. His attention was entirely on his daughter. Each smile, each gesture, each little sound was a story in itself. He wanted to remember every moment, every detail, every laugh, as if capturing them in his mind forever. Moments like this were rare, fleeting, and precious. The waitress continued to interact with the little girl, encouraging her to try new things. She helped her with the toast, showing her how to take small bites. She pointed to the butter and the jam, asking if she wanted some. The little girl nodded eagerly, trying to use her fingers to spread a small amount on her toast. Her father watched, amazed at her determination. She wanted to do everything herself to explore her abilities, and he wanted to encourage that independence while also making sure she was safe and cared for. As the little girl continued to explore, she noticed a small picture on the wall. It was a painting of a field with flowers and a little path leading into the distance. She pointed at it, her tiny finger trembling with excitement. Her father followed her gaze and smiled. The waitress noticed as well and knelt down to her level, pointing at the painting and making a soft, questioning sound. The little girl made a sound in response, a kind of squeaky, happy noise. It was almost like she was trying to talk, to communicate, to express her curiosity. Her father felt a thrill of anticipation. He knew she was learning, growing, and preparing to speak her first words. He took a moment to reflect on how far she had come. From the first days when she could barely lift her head, to the first time she rolled over, to the first steps she had taken in their living room, every milestone had been an achievement. Every day had brought new challenges, new moments of discovery, new opportunities to teach and guide. He felt a deep sense of responsibility but also a deep sense of privilege. Being able to watch her grow, to shape her early experiences, was a gift he cherished more than anything else. The little girl then noticed the waitress's name tag. It was colorful with letters in bright colors. She pointed at it, her tiny fingers tracing the letters as best as she could. The waitress smiled and nodded, showing her the letters one by one. The little girl's eyes followed intently, absorbing the shapes, the colors, the meaning behind them. It was a simple interaction, but it carried weight. She was learning about language, about communication, about how people connected with each other. The father felt his chest swell with emotion. He watched as his daughter's mind absorbed the lessons hidden in these small moments. He realized that the people she met, the kindness she received, the attention she was given, would shape her understanding of the world. He wanted to make sure that the world she encountered was full of warmth, curiosity, and safety, even if it was not always easy to find. The little interactions, the small gestures of care, were forming the foundation of her understanding of people and life. Breakfast continued with small bites and playful gestures. The little girl explored the food, making tiny messes that she found hilarious. Her father helped when necessary, but mostly watched, enjoying the natural rhythm of her play and exploration. The waitress occasionally joined in, laughing softly, making sounds, and encouraging the little girl to try new things. The cafe felt alive with the gentle energy of discovery and connection. Why? After a while, the little girl grew curious about the other tables. She looked around, pointing and making noises as she noticed different people and objects. Her father gently guided her hand back to her food, reminding her softly that it was time to eat. She nodded, but kept glancing around, eager to see everything. Her attention span was short, as it often was at this age, but her curiosity was endless. He marveled at how quickly she absorbed everything, how her mind jumped from one idea to another, how her little hands reached for the things she wanted to explore. He took a deep breath, appreciating this quiet moment with her. Life was busy and sometimes chaotic, but here, in this small cafe, with the morning sun streaming in, he felt a sense of peace. He watched his daughter's expressions, her gestures, the way she tilted her head in curiosity, the way she laughed when something amused her. Every sound, every movement, every tiny detail felt like a gift. He realized that these ordinary moments, seemingly simple and mundane, were truly extraordinary when shared with someone you love. The waitress then brought a small surprise, a tiny plate of fruit cut into fun shapes. The little girl's eyes lit up, and she clapped her hands with excitement. She reached for the pieces, examining each one carefully before tasting it. The colors, the shapes, the sweetness, all of it fascinated her. Her father smiled, enjoying the delight on her face. It was a reminder of how simple joys could bring immense happiness, especially to a child discovering the world for the first time. He watched as she continued to explore, her little hands picking up different pieces, making soft sounds as she tasted each one. She looked up at the waitress, pointing at a piece of fruit, and made a noise that sounded almost like a word. The waitress leaned closer, encouraging her with a gentle smile. Her father felt a rush of anticipation. He knew that these small moments of interaction, these little experiments with sound and meaning, were leading up to something significant. He could sense that today might be a day filled with a milestone, a moment that would be remembered forever. Time seemed to slow down as they continued to sit together. The little girl explored the plate, the table, the waitress's gestures, and her father's reactions. Each moment was filled with learning, with discovery, with the quiet joy of being present. He realized that the world was full of lessons for her, and that these lessons were hidden in simple, everyday experiences. He wanted her to have a foundation built on love, curiosity, and kindness, and he felt fortunate that he could provide that in every small way. As the meal came to an end, he felt a mixture of relief and sadness. Relief that she had eaten well, that she was happy, that the moment had been peaceful and joyful. Sadness that time seemed to pass so quickly, that these moments were fleeting, that soon she would grow older and these tiny interactions would become memories. He held her hand, feeling the warmth, feeling the life and energy radiating from her. He made a silent promise to always cherish these times, to never take them for granted, and to always be there to guide and support her. Finally, the little girl leaned back in her chair, her energy slightly spent but her curiosity still shining. She played with the ring the waitress had given her, shaking it gently, watching the colors move. Her father smiled, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. Life was challenging, but moments like these made every struggle worthwhile. He knew that his daughter was learning, growing, and preparing to speak her first words, to express herself in ways that would surprise and delight him. And he was ready, more than ready, to witness every step of her journey. The little girl's eyes were glued to the waitress as she moved around the table with gentle grace. Every gesture fascinated her, from the way she carefully set down a cup to the soft smile that never seemed to leave her face. She reached out, mimicking the movements with her tiny hands, tilting her head in concentration. Her father watched from across the table, a quiet smile playing on his lips. Moments like these were rare and precious. They were ordinary on the surface, yet extraordinary to him, because he was witnessing her curiosity blossom and her mind at work. The waitress noticed the intensity in the little girl's gaze and leaned slightly closer, talking in a calm, melodic tone. She asked questions, encouraging small sounds from the girl, clapping softly when she tried to respond. The little girl's lips moved in ways that almost formed words, but not quite. Each attempt, though, was a step forward. Her father felt a surge of anticipation. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time, the first time she would speak clearly. The excitement mingled with tenderness in his chest, making him feel both proud and slightly nervous. He recalled all the small sounds she had made before, the babbles, the giggles, the soft coos in the middle of the night. Each one had felt like a secret message from her mind, glimpses of her growing understanding of the world. But today something felt different. Today he sensed a milestone approaching, a moment that would be more than just a sound, more than just a noise. It would be a real word that carried meaning, spoken by his daughter. His heart raced a little at the thought. The little girl's hands were busy exploring everything around her. She touched the colorful napkins, poked at the edges of the cups, and batted playfully at the small toys the waitress had given her. Her curiosity seemed limitless. Every movement was filled with a purpose, as if she was trying to understand the world with every gesture. Her father admired her determination. He wanted to nurture this sense of wonder, to encourage her to explore while keeping her safe. He knew that these small interactions, these seemingly insignificant moments, were shaping her understanding of the world. The waitress continued to interact with her gently, pointing to a small picture on the wall above the table. It was a painting of a garden with butterflies fluttering around flowers. The little girl's eyes followed the movements carefully. She pointed at a butterfly, making a soft squeaky sound, clearly fascinated by the colors and shapes. The waitress smiled and nodded, encouraging her to keep observing, to keep trying to express what she was noticing. Her father watched, feeling a mixture of pride and amazement. He could see her mind connecting ideas, trying to link sounds to objects, gestures to meanings. He thought about how much learning was happening in this moment. Not just language, but observation, interaction, and emotional awareness. She was learning to communicate, to notice kindness, to understand the subtleties of human connection. He felt a surge of gratitude toward the waitress, who had unknowingly become a teacher in this tiny but significant moment. The little girl looked up at her father and smiled, and he returned the smile, feeling an overwhelming sense of love. This smile, this connection, was worth all the sleepless nights and challenges of single parenting. The little girl reached for the waitress's hand, grasping her finger gently. She tilted her head and made a sound that was more deliberate than anything she had made before. The waitress encouraged her with a soft clap and a smile, and the little girl tried again. This time, her lips moved in a way that almost formed a recognizable word. Her father leaned in slightly, his pulse quickening. Could this be it? Could this be the first word he had been waiting for so long to hear? He watched her closely, noticing every subtle movement. The little girl's eyes were wide with focus, her tiny hands moving in tandem with the sounds she was trying to produce. She pointed at the waitress again, her little lips forming the beginnings of a word. The waitress knelt closer, her eyes warm and encouraging. The little girl repeated the sound, a little louder this time, more confident. Her father held his breath, leaning closer, trying not to interrupt the fragile moment unfolding before him. Oraled. Finally, the little girl's lips shaped a clear, deliberate sound. Her father felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes as he realized she had spoken her first word. She pointed at the waitress and said it again, louder and more certain. The cafe seemed to pause for a moment, as if the world had slowed down to witness this tiny miracle. His heart swelled with pride, love, and joy. This word was not just a milestone in her development. It was a testament to their bond, to his dedication, to the warmth and kindness she had experienced from the people around her. The waitress's eyes widened with delight, and she clapped her hands softly, praising the little girl. Her smile was genuine, full of the joy that comes from witnessing a child's first moment of true expression. The little girl giggled, proud of herself for the accomplishment. Her father scooped her into his arms, hugging her tightly, feeling the soft weight of her body against his chest. He whispered words of love and pride into her ear, his voice choked with emotion. He wanted her to feel how much this moment mattered, how much she mattered, how proud he was of her. Other patrons in the cafe noticed the moment as well. Some smiled, some whispered softly to each other, touched by the innocence and purity of a child's first word. The little girl's laughter filled the room, mingling with the soft background music and the gentle chatter of the cafe. Her father watched, feeling a deep sense of connection, not just to her, but to the small community around them. Moments like these reminded him that human connection, kindness, and love could be found everywhere, in even the simplest settings. He thought back to all the nights spent rocking her to sleep, all the hours of patient teaching, all the small efforts that had led to this moment. Every story read, every game played, every gentle correction had contributed to this milestone. He felt a profound sense of accomplishment as a parent, but also a deep humility. He realized that her growth was not just because of him, but because of the love, attention, and care she received from everyone around her. The little girl's curiosity did not end with her first word. She continued to point at objects, make little sounds, and try to form new words. Her father encouraged her gently, repeating her sounds, praising her efforts, and guiding her understanding. He wanted her to know that communication was powerful, that her voice mattered, that expressing herself was important. Each attempt brought new joy, each success a burst of pride. He felt blessed to witness her journey into language, into understanding, into the world of human expression. The waitress stayed close, laughing softly with the little girl, showing her patience and encouragement. She became part of this memory, a figure of warmth and kindness that the little girl would remember, even if only in fragments. Her father silently thanked her for her role in this magical moment, knowing that these small acts of care had lasting impact. As breakfast ended, the little girl played with the small toy again, repeating her first words several times, pointing proudly at the waitress each time. Her father watched, tears of happiness welling in his eyes. He knew this was a story they would remember forever, a moment that marked a beginning. It was not just a word. It was a connection, a bridge between her world and the world around her. It was proof of her curiosity, intelligence, and the love that surrounded her. He held her hand as they prepared to leave the cafe, feeling a mix of emotions: pride, love, gratitude, and an awareness of how fleeting these moments were. He knew that many more milestones awaited them, each unique and special, but this first word would always have a place in their hearts. It was the start of her journey into language, communication, and expression, a journey he would guide, support, and cherish every step of the way. Walking out of the cafe, he carried her gently, feeling the warmth of her tiny hand gripping his finger. She babbled happily, clearly excited by the morning's experiences. He smiled, feeling the quiet satisfaction of a parent who had been present, patient, and loving. Today had been a day of discovery, a day of connection, a day of joy, and as he walked, he silently promised himself to always cherish these moments, to always be there to witness her growth, to guide her, and to celebrate every word, every sound, every step she took in this W. The father held his daughter close, his heart pounding with joy and pride. He could still hear her tiny voice repeating the word, the sound lingering in his mind like the most beautiful music he had ever heard. Every part of him wanted to freeze the moment, to keep it in place forever, but he also knew that life would move on. He looked around the cafe and noticed that some people were smiling at the scene, touched by the pure happiness radiating from the small family. Others whispered softly to each other, sharing in the joy without intruding. The world felt gentle and warm in that instant, and he wanted to savor every second. He kissed the top of her head, feeling the soft strands of hair beneath his lips. She looked up at him with wide, sparkling eyes, full of excitement and pride. Her tiny hands rested on his chest as if to anchor herself, to share in the happiness of being understood. He spoke softly to her, repeating the words she had just spoken, emphasizing each sound and smiling warmly. Her laughter bubbled up again, and he felt his chest tighten with emotion. This simple exchange, this first word, was a culmination of months of effort, patience, and love. It was proof that his dedication had mattered, that his presence had shaped her in profound ways. The waitress knelt beside them again, her face glowing with delight. She reached out gently, letting the little girl touch her hand, and praised her softly for speaking her first word. The little girl's eyes shone with happiness, and she babbled excitedly, trying to say it again. Her father chuckled softly, feeling a sense of awe at how quickly she was learning and how eager she was to communicate. He realized that this milestone was not just about language. It was about connection, understanding, and the first real step into expressing herself in a world full of people and experiences. He thought about all the nights he had spent listening to her babble, the countless stories he had read to her, the gentle corrections, the patient encouragements. Each little moment had built up to this, and now he could see the results in the pure joy of her voice. He felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude, not only toward himself but toward the people around her who had been part of her life. The waitress, though perhaps unaware of the significance, had played a role in this milestone. Her kindness, patience, and warmth had given his daughter the confidence to explore language and communication in a safe and encouraging space. He glanced at the other patrons in the cafe, noticing their smiles and quiet attention. Some had witnessed a first word for the first time in their lives, and the atmosphere was soft and warm. It was amazing how such a small, intimate moment could affect so many people. The father realized that the joy of this experience was not limited to him and his daughter. It rippled outward, touching everyone present in a subtle but profound way. It reminded him of the beauty of human connection, of the importance of kindness and presence, and how simple acts could create lasting memories. The little girl continued to point at the waitress, her lips moving as she tried to repeat the word over and over. Her father encouraged her gently, praising her every time she succeeded. He knew that repetition was part of learning, and he wanted her to feel proud of every effort. He could see her gaining confidence, understanding that her voice had power, that her words could express feelings, ideas, and desires. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment as a parent, knowing that he had created a nurturing environment where she felt safe to explore and grow. He held her hand, guiding her gently as she reached for the cup and the small toys again. Each gesture, each small interaction was part of the learning process. He smiled as he noticed how attentive she was, how eager to participate in the world around her. Her energy was boundless, and he wanted to match it with patience, love, and attention. He understood that these early experiences would form the foundation of her personality, her understanding of human relationships, and her ability to navigate life with confidence and curiosity. NTS. The waitress shared in their happiness, clapping softly and making encouraging sounds. She had witnessed something precious, something that would stay in both their hearts forever. The father silently thanked her for being part of this moment, for her kindness, and for helping his daughter feel seen and supported. He realized that the people we meet, even in small, everyday interactions, can have a profound impact on our lives and memories. As the breakfast concluded, he helped his daughter with the last few bites, praising her for trying new foods and for being curious. He encouraged her to repeat the word again, and she did, her voice clear and confident. The sound seemed to echo in the quiet cafe, lingering like a memory in the making. He felt tears prick at his eyes, overwhelmed with love and pride. This word was not just a milestone. It was a symbol of the bond they shared, of the care and attention he had poured into her life, of the joy of being present in these small but significant moments. He reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From sleepless nights and endless diaper changes to reading stories and playing games, every effort had mattered. Every smile, every gentle correction, every laugh shared had contributed to this moment. He felt a profound sense of accomplishment, tempered with humility. Raising a child was not easy, but moments like these made every challenge worthwhile. He wanted to remember this feeling forever, to hold it close as a reminder of the love and connection they shared. The little girl's attention shifted to the small toys she had been given. She played with them, babbling happily, occasionally pointing at the waitress and repeating her first word. Her father smiled, watching her with a mixture of amusement and pride. He realized that her curiosity was insatiable, that she would continue to explore and learn with eagerness. It was his responsibility to guide her gently, to provide love and encouragement, and to celebrate every small success along the way. He noticed how natural and human this moment felt, without any need for grand gestures or celebrations. It was ordinary in its setting, a small cafe, a breakfast shared, but extraordinary in its emotional impact. He understood that the real magic of life often came in these simple human moments. The laughter of a child, the warmth of a smile, the connection between people. These were the things that mattered most, the memories that lasted a lifetime. The father decided to capture a mental photograph of this moment, to hold it in his memory forever. He memorized the sunlight on her hair, the sparkle in her eyes, the gentle expression of the waitress, the soft background sounds of the cafe. Every detail was precious, every tiny gesture meaningful. He felt grateful for the quiet joy of witnessing his daughter's first word, for the opportunity to share in her growth, and for the reminder that love, patience, and presence were the greatest gifts a parent could give. As they prepared to leave, he held her gently in his arms, feeling her small hand rest against his chest. She babbled happily, clearly excited by the morning's experiences. Her father smiled, knowing that this day would remain in their hearts forever. The first word was more than just a sound. It was a moment of connection, of understanding, and of love. It was the start of her journey into language, communication, and self-expression, and he felt honored to guide and witness every step of that journey. Walking out of the cafe, he felt a sense of peace and fulfillment. Life would continue to bring challenges, but today had been a reminder of what truly mattered: love, connection, and presence. The little girl babbled happily in his arms, her voice carrying the joy of discovery, and he knew that their bond was stronger than ever. Every word she spoke, every gesture she made, every laugh shared would become part of the story of their lives. A story built on care, attention, and the quiet beauty of everyday moments. The father carried his daughter out of the cafe, the warmth of the morning sun brushing against their faces. She babbled happily, pointing at everything she saw, clearly excited by the small adventures of the day. He smiled, feeling her energy and curiosity radiate through him. Each little sound she made, each gesture, reminded him of the miracle he had just witnessed. Her first word had been spoken, and it had filled his heart with joy and pride. But he also realized that this was just the beginning. Life had many more moments to offer, many more lessons to teach, and he wanted to be there for all of them. As they walked hand in hand, he noticed the little things she was discovering. The way a bird perched on a fence, the flutter of leaves in the breeze, the movement of people passing by. She pointed at each one, her eyes wide with wonder, and tried to imitate the sounds she heard. He encouraged her, repeating the sounds she made, smiling and clapping softly. Her confidence grew with each interaction, and he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He knew that these small, seemingly ordinary moments were shaping her understanding of the world and building her curiosity, empathy, and joy. He thought about how much she had grown since the day she was born. From the first moments when she clutched his finger, to her first steps, to this incredible milestone of speaking her first word, every moment had been filled with discovery, learning, and love. He realized that raising her as a single parent had not always been easy. There had been sleepless nights, moments of doubt, and countless challenges. But every struggle had been worth it for this, the privilege of watching her grow, of guiding her, and of witnessing the beauty of her mind opening to the world. They continued their walk, stopping at a small park nearby. She ran ahead a little, giggling, and he watched with pride as she explored. He stayed close, letting her discover while ensuring her safety. She pointed at a flower, crouching down to touch it gently. He encouraged her, explaining the colors and the texture, helping her connect words to the things she was discovering. She repeated after him, her voice soft but confident. The joy of seeing her speak, even in these small interactions, filled him with warmth and a sense of accomplishment. It was proof that his patience, care, and dedication were making a difference. As they sat on a bench for a short rest, he reflected on how these moments would become memories for both of them. He wanted her to feel supported, loved, and confident in exploring the world. He wanted her to know that her voice mattered, that her thoughts, feelings, and words could make a difference. The little girl leaned against him, her head resting lightly on his shoulder, her small hand wrapped around his finger. He felt a wave of tenderness wash over him. This simple act of closeness was a reminder of their bond, unbreakable and filled with love. He remembered all the people who had influenced her life in small but meaningful ways. The kindness of the waitress that morning, the gentle encouragement she had received from caregivers and family friends, all had contributed to her sense of security and curiosity. He understood now, more than ever, the importance of surrounding her with warmth, patience, and positivity. He wanted her to grow up knowing that the world could be kind, that people could care, and that she had a place where she was always safe and loved. The father smiled as she babbled happily, clearly trying to form new words. He encouraged her, repeating her attempts, gently correcting and praising her at the same time. Every small success made her more confident, more willing to try again. He realized that language was more than just communication. It was a bridge to understanding, a tool to express feelings, and a way to connect deeply with others. Witnessing her first word had been an emotional milestone, but seeing her continue to explore language and communication was an ongoing joy. After a while, they returned home. The little girl ran around the living room, pointing at her toys, making soft sounds that were gradually forming into words. He watched her, sitting quietly and observing her growth. He knew that each day would bring new challenges and milestones, but he felt ready to guide her, support her, and celebrate every small achievement along the way. He was determined to be present, patient, and loving, providing a foundation of security and encouragement that would allow her to flourish. As evening approached, he prepared a simple dinner. The little girl helped as best she could, pointing at ingredients and babbling excitedly. He encouraged her participation, turning cooking into a learning experience. They laughed together, shared small successes, and celebrated little discoveries. The warmth of their home, the sense of routine mixed with playful learning, created a nurturing environment that was full of love and attention. He knew that these everyday moments were just as important as the extraordinary ones, shaping her understanding of life and relationships. After dinner, he bathed her and dressed her in cozy pajamas. She was tired but happy, her little eyes still sparkling with curiosity. He carried her to the living room, where they read a story together. She listened intently, occasionally babbling sounds that reflected her growing understanding of words and meaning. He responded to each attempt, praising her and repeating the sounds, reinforcing her learning and encouraging her confidence. The rhythm of their interaction, filled with warmth and attention, strengthened their bond and nurtured her development. Finally, it was time for bed. He tucked her in, making sure she was comfortable and cozy. She reached out for his hand, and he held it gently, feeling the warmth and softness of her tiny fingers. He whispered words of love and pride, reminding her how special she was, how proud he was of her, and how much he loved her. She listened, eyes closing slowly as she drifted into sleep. He watched her for a few moments, marveling at the miracle of life and the privilege of being her parent. Today had been extraordinary, a day filled with milestones, learning, and joy, but it was also a reminder that the simple, everyday moments were just as important, shaping her growth and their connection. He sat quietly after she fell asleep, reflecting on the day. Her first word had been a moment of pure joy, a milestone he would never forget. It was a symbol of her growth, her intelligence, and her willingness to explore and connect with the world. But beyond the word itself, it was a reminder of the importance of love, patience, and presence. Every small interaction, every moment of care, had contributed to this moment, and he felt grateful for the opportunity to guide her and witness her journey. He knew that life would continue to bring challenges and milestones, but he felt ready for them. He would continue to nurture her curiosity, support her growth, and celebrate every achievement, big or small. Today had been a day of wonder, connection, and love, and he knew that there would be many more like it. The memories of this day, the warmth of her laughter, the sound of her first word, would stay with him forever, shaping his understanding of life and the joy of parenthood. As he finally turned off the lights and left the room, he felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. He knew that his daughter's journey had just begun, and he would be there every step of the way. The love, guidance, and encouragement he provided would continue to shape her understanding of the world, her confidence, and her ability to express herself. And he knew that no matter what the future held, the memory of this day, the day she spoke her first word, would remain a shining moment in both their hearts, a reminder of the beauty, wonder, and joy of life.